Not only can you both look cool and feel warm when it's freezing out, you can take inspiration from some of our culture's best dressed men. It's true that fall is the best time of year for menswear, so for this sequel to my famous fall jacket video, there's a little bit more of a military bent to this video, but all these jackets do have the same things in common. They're cool as all hell, and they will get you through at least the coldest New York winters. Because I do live here and own these and wear them, never mind my accent, and I'm giving you the most influential models in each category, but I'll also mention a cheaper alternative too. And the first jacket on this list is gonna shut up any of those Canadians who always turn up in my comments to say, no cool looking jacket will keep you warm on a Yukon Christmas. This one is for Siberia. Jacket 1 is the B3. Wool is great at keeping you warm, and we've got more wool coming up, but when wool won't cut it, you can just shear a little harder and pull the entire skin of the sheep off while you're at it. Shearling is what you get when the wool is still stuck onto the sheepskin and then you tan it into leather. That is also wool, it's like leather wool, and it is stupid, insanely warm. Warm enough to make up the jackets used by Royal Air Force pilots when they had to reach 25,000 foot altitudes in unpressurized cockpits. That means like ventilated cockpits. And this jacket was warm enough to protect Rocky Balboa when he was training in good old Krasnogorsk, USSR during the Cold War. This kind of jacket is called the B3. There have been many, many versions of it throughout military history or takes inspired by it. But if you want to dress like Rocky, and who doesn't, I went to Midtown Manhattan to visit Cockpit USA, who make a ton of historically accurate military jackets. And the one they call the Champ is the shearling jacket that will make you feel like you can beat up on a roided out Soviet, seemingly convince the Politburo to give up communism, suffer brain damage that forces you into retirement, and then 15 years later come out of retirement because I guess you weren't that brain damaged anyway. If shearling sounds good to you, but you want something cheaper, Thursday came out with the less vintage Bronco jacket that is half the price of a cockpit jacket. There you go. Next up is my personal favorite winter jacket. It's called the N1, or better known as the deck jacket. Built for the US Navy in World War II when they needed something that was easy to launder and warm as all hell. I don't want to get too stuck in military history here. I did a whole video on the deck jacket and its variations with a military clothing historian in the description if you want to geek out on that. Suffice it to say, I prefer natural fabrics and love this pre-polyester jacket that's both insanely warm and stylish as all hell. The shell is an incredibly dense kind of cotton you might not have heard of with the very cool name of jungle cloth. It's also sometimes called Bedford cord. I'm not getting into the differences. And the deck jacket is traditionally lined with alpaca wool. Sometimes you see it blended with the sheep's wool, but during the World War, we were running low on sheep's wool and exploring alternatives. Alpaca wool has more hollow space for warm air to fill it, so they say it has a greater thermal capacity than wool and also greater tensile strength. I mean, maybe. I'm not a textiles guy. I've owned 4 kinds of deck jackets. A lot of cool brands like to do their own take on it. And while the historical replicas are cool, like exact recreations of the World War ones, I had one. They are more boxy, they are more itchy, and less hand-warmy pockets than what is pretty broadly considered the best take on the deck jacket, which is Ironheart's N1. I've got it in black, but the crowd favorite is this classic khaki or drab color. And Chris Hemsworth's character agrees because he sports an Ironheart N1 in Extraction 2. I recommend sizing up. They're made in Japan, so they fit a little bit smaller. Oh, and if you like this look, but 800-ish bucks is too pricey and you don't need the warmest deck jacket there is, Triple Aught Designs makes the best budget deck jacket, I think. It's under 400 bucks. The lining is synthetic, but the shell is still legit jungle cloth, and it's a good price for something that's made in the UK. For something comparatively lighter, I'm always amazed how incredibly warm the very famous Filson Mackinaw cruiser is. This is the jacket or coat, whatever, that inspired all the red and black buffalo plaid wool coats that have made their way into the public consciousness. This coat, or something derived from it, was worn by Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront.
I could have been a contender.
Paul Bunyan wears one. The mascot of Ottawa's Canadian football team wears one. It's like the hardest to get jacket in the survival video game, The Long Dark. It was part of the uniform for the US Forest Service for a long time. It goes on and on and on. It's in every corner of our culture, and it deserves to be because it's very, very warm. And because it's unlined, this is the coat that will make you realize what everyone's talking about with wool. This is wool that does not play around. It's very thick at 24 ounces per square yard. It is the kind of wiry, scratchy wool that makes you think of frontiersmen and makes you sometimes wish it did have lining. But the lack of lining means it breathes and insulates really well, and there's a much wider range of temperatures that you can wear it in than synthetics or even something that's lined. It being nothing but wool also means it's very antimicrobial. It pretty much never gets smelly. It's fire resistant, abrasion resistant. Filson has a lifetime warranty. They'll fix it if anything ever breaks, even if you get it secondhand, which is really cool. It's time to end this section of the video, but I do have a longer video on this coat if you want to learn more. Just remember that this and all jackets on this video are so durable that there's no shame in getting one on eBay. I've gotten one on eBay before, and also I recommend sizing down unless you like the baggy look. It's cut for workwear. The alternative to Filson's Mackinaw Cruiser is Stormy Chromers. It is about the same weight, 26 ounces actually. Also unlined, made in America, $375. Another cool one that's shorter and cheaper is Heatstrap's Lumber Jacket. That's made just across the river in New Jersey, and the difference is that their wool isn't itchy. So that's a pretty good alternative that's cut a little shorter, like a work jacket. Okay, this next jacket, it isn't all that famous in pop culture, but I'm comfortable saying it's the best known winter denim jacket. It's the warmest denim jacket, actually. I am confident saying that because I've been looking around a lot for alternatives for you guys. I couldn't find anything remotely close to what this offers. In the menswear subculture of raw denim and heritage menswear, which is where you lurk like on Reddit if you're someone who loves a denim jacket, and if that's you and you get kind of sad when it gets too cold to wear a denim jacket, you look for the RJ2 from Free Note Cloth. This is me wearing it all over British Columbia. It is stupid how warm this is because not only is the denim 20-ounce Japanese selvage, which is almost twice as thick as your normal mall brand jeans, it's also lined with our good friend Shearling, and so are the pockets as well. And it's also got a ton of cool details like bi-swing gussets and an action back and hidden elastic bands that give it a lot of movement without being cut really loose. It is a sick jacket. If it's not cold enough to wear it, you will sweat as soon as you put it on because it's an unbelievably warm jacket. That's the difference with the Filson. But do not worry about the RJ2 not being warm enough for wherever you live. I haven't done a video on this jacket, but the Iron Snail has a great one you can check out below. I couldn't find any alternative denim jackets with Shearling. It's all polyester Sherpa out there. A lot of brands have made wool-lined denim jackets in the past, but don't now. The closest I could find is a wool and cotton lined denim jacket from Ironheart. Soso lets you do lining on their custom denim jackets, but none of it's 100% wool. The consensus seems to be if you really want any other wool lined denim, let alone Shearling, you gotta try eBay because they used to be more common. Anyway, I've had mine for over a year. I love wearing it with Free Note's really thick canvas pants or my 21-ounce black Ironheart jeans. You really feel very protected and armored when you're going through the cold. And I got this one secondhand on Grailed, actually. Actually, all the jackets that I own on this list, I got secondhand. The B3 I just borrowed from Cockpit USA's store, and this next one I got my colleague to shoot. I don't own it, but I dare say it is the most famous parka.
So this is the Canada Goose Expedition jacket.
Worn here by my occasional co-host Troy Barmore, who went and got another job, so he only appears on the channel sometimes. We clearly have a bias for natural materials at Stridewise, and while the water repellent shell here is mostly polyester, and there's all sorts of extra tech that are derived from fossil fabrics, like a nylon snow skirt, Velcro closures, and so on. In the filling is where the wonderful natural insulator down comes to shine. Each ounce of Canada Goose's 625 fill down has approximately 2 million fluffy filaments that interlock and overlap to create insulating pockets of air that will keep you warm.
It's literally like wearing a sleeping bag that is itself inside a tent. Very, very warm. It's fantastic.
This jacket is regularly worn on Mount Everest. I think a lot of people assume that if a substance was made by some animal's metabolism, like wool or down or leather, it can't keep the naked ape that is a human being warm when he ventures to the place he belongs the least on this planet, namely its lifeless icy poles. However, this parka was developed for scientists working in Antarctica's McMurdo Station, and it's still worn by the National Science Foundation's Division of Polar Research. Also, Ryan Reynolds, Canadian, donated several hundred to a community in the Canadian Arctic where they were very, very useful and appreciated. And it was worn in The Day After Tomorrow. Pretty cold movie. So it meets our criteria of famous and cool and warm. It does cost $1,700, and buddy, you probably don't need something this warm. So you might be better served getting one of the cheaper down parkas from Fjallraven, Moose Knuckle, or North Face. This parka here is for like pretty polar environments. But if that is what you need, what do you think, Troy? All right. That would have been a good place to end this video because it's like kind of the warmest thing on this list and maybe anywhere ever. But because I didn't have great footage of it, I'm going to show one more winter jacket, it's a coat, that you're a lot more likely to recognize. The US Navy's pea coat, which is much warmer and cheaper than you might have thought. Like a really famous pea coat is Billy Reed's, but it is much less warm and more expensive than this guy here. So I would say, accept no imitations. eBay is overflowing with used pea coats from the world wars, and because they were made so goddamn well, you can get one and you'll probably need to replace the lining. But otherwise, your 100-year-old pea coat won't skip a beat. This is and is not an old pea coat in that it was made this century, but it is an authentic stitch-for-stitch recreation of the pea coat worn in the 1910s by the US Navy over 100 years ago. You may recall that Mackinaw cruiser is perfectly New York warm at 24 ounces. This is 36 ounces, and it's Melton wool, which is extremely dense, partly because it's woven in a twill form. It will practically never fray, and it is dense in a way that makes it even more water resistant and wind resistant. There have, of course, been many iterations of the pea coat throughout naval history. Some were lighter weight, some used kersey wool, some had different details and so on. The thickest and warmest that I've found is this one. It's from Buzz Ricksons. It's made in Japan by these fanatics who painstakingly recreate old military garments, and it's just $685. The best known alternative to this is Shot NYC's famous pea coat. It's 32-ounce wool and it's $390. The catch being that it's an 80-20 wool nylon blend, but that's still a very solid deal. And some people will argue that nylon is worth it because it might make it a bit more durable. It looks just as good over a crew neck and faded jeans as it does over an Oxford shirt. And actually that did turn out to be a better place to end the video. What did I miss? And like and subscribe and do the YouTube stuff, but comment below.